Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to this night-ending bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into this night-ending bonus upload, shall we? Today's first part of the upload brings us to Africa. Sometime in 1925, a 6-year-old girl disappeared from a village in Uasin-Gishu. She was pulled violently through a fence of thorns that surrounded the village. The bloodied thorns suggested that chances of finding her alive were certainly nil. If they found her body, they would find her scalped and her skull cracked open. Chemo Sit, the brain-eating terror that roamed the night, had struck again. In response, the colonial government sent Captain William Hitchens, an officer with the Intelligence and Administrative Services of East Africa. Hitchens was an adventurer with numerous encounters hunting beasts in East Africa. In 1900, he had reported sighting a small bipedal creature called the agagwi somewhere in Wambeer Plains in Tanganyika. Once he arrived in Uasin-Gishu, Hitchens set about establishing where the creature lived. The villagers believed it lived 8 miles away, and Hitchens set out with his hunting dog. The hunt turned out unfruitful on the first few nights, but then the beast found him one dark night. Hitchens was startled from his sleep by a blood-curdling scream and a commotion outside that was bringing down his tent. By the time he escaped from the mess, all he could see was a trail of blood. The rope he had used to tether his dog to the hunting pole was still there. His dog was gone. The trail had paw prints, a few times larger than a man's hand or a lion's paw, and showing imprints of claws. But what struck Hitchens was the scream. The most awful howl I had ever heard split the night. The sheer demonic horror of it froze me still. Never have I heard, nor do I wish to hear such a howl again. The Nandy bear had found its hunter. Most of the accounts we have of such encounters are of European explorers and administrators, but tales of the animal did exist among the Nandy and other tribes. Among the Lambois, the predator decimated 67 goats by ripping out their brains in 1919. In 1913, C.W. Hobley wrote about a similar frightening animal that had been killed in the Nagwo and Tana River. The Nandy bear is known among the Nandy by many names: Ver, Karet, Kamoset, Sabruku, Duba, Kikambangwi, Nagolko, depending on the place of sighting. It was known as the Nagloko in Tanzania and the coastal regions, as Kikambwa in West Africa, and Gadet among the Lambois of Kenya and as the chevaux vert among the luau in Kakamega. It is likely that they are different animals, as the Naguloko, for example, was often described as being bigger, with larger ears and a prominent nose. It was also bipedal, unlike the Nandy bear, which could comfortably use both 2 and 4 feet. The Naguloko mainly ate honey and drank blood and buffalo milk. It was rumored to have 3 toes, a large prehestial toe, and 3 small toes. In Nandy folklore, Chemoset resembled a giant bear or hyena with powerfully built shoulders, a sloped back, and a long pointed head and snout. The ears were noticeably short for such a large monster. It had thick brown fur or hair with large teeth and walked upright, ranging from 4 to 6 feet. Its feet must have been large, given the size of the footprints it left behind. Some sightings claimed the presence of a short tail, while most claimed the animal had no tail. The ferocious monster had an appetite for brains and always hunted at night. One of the earliest recorded records of the Nandy bear was in 1905 when explorer Jeffrey Williams encountered the beast in the Uasin Gishu. The ferocious monster was heavily built and had a long pointed head. It looked like a bear, he would later say, but bears hadn't been seen this far south in Africa for thousands of years. Williams did not talk about the frightening experience for 7 years, and only then, after other sightings had been reported. One of the most credible was by the district commissioner of Eldoret, N.E.F. Corbett, while fishing in the Serigo River in March of 1913. He encountered the beast, but survived to tell the story. It was evidently drinking and was just below me. I heard something going away, and it shambled across the stream into the bush, he later said. In 1913, builders of the Magadi Railway also reported being stalked by a monster. The beast's footprints were often found in the area around the construction site. The project engineer, G.W. Hicks, also faced it. His encounter led to one of the most detailed descriptions anyone had at that time. The animal that had chased him was as high as a lion. Color was tawny, very shaggy long hair, high with a short neck and stumpy nose. Such reports triggered the interest of anthropologists, researchers, scientists, and adrenaline junkies. Men hunted the beast, but no one ever caught it or showed its carcass. There was an unbelievable story that it had been killed by a charging rhino. Another story by Blaine Percival said that the beast had been trapped in a hut in 1914 and the hut burned down by villagers. 3 years later, a man called Harry Wa Mabruku described accompanying Maboni tribesmen as they hunted down the animal in 1917. With no carcass to show, all these sound like legend and offer little credence to a theory that the Chemoset was a bear. There is little agreement of whether it was the same animal or even members of the same species. The nights were badly lit in the days before electricity, and tales of monsters often formed a crucial part of folklore. The only candidate among bears was the Atlas bear that roamed the Atlas Mountains of North Africa during prehistoric times. It is mentioned in records of Rome's conquest of the region. The last of the species to have been killed was shot by a Moroccan hunter in the 19th century. The bear had never been spotted this far south of the Sahara, so the Atlas bear was canceled out as a likely candidate. So if it wasn't a bear that was stalking the Nandy, what was it? It could have been a honey badger, a giant hyena, an aardvark, or some unknown species. No one, even the people who claim to have seen it, can agree what exactly it was or is. But could it have been anything else? Hyenas generally avoid human beings, and if they attack, they tend to do so in packs. The tallest a hyena has been known to grow is 4 feet 5 inches. The aardvark is an anteater, while baboons are not nearly as large as the Nandy bear has been described. Colonel Maynard Zanhegan claimed the Nandy had been identified a chimpanzee as the chemoset. Nagoloko could have been an ostrich. Louis Leakey offered that the monster was a surviving Chalicothosaurus. Chalicothosaurus are thought to be extinct. The group includes rhinos and horses. Archaeological reconstructions of the animal reveal the beast with a head and ears of a bear, but the body close to a giant hyena. Their bones were found in areas around East Africa, offering some weight to the theory. For it to have been one, it would have had to remain undiscovered in a Rift Valley until the 19th century. It became a part of popular culture as an inspiration of the comic Tarzan's son and the comic bear. In 1963, comic Tarzan's son, Korak, fights a ferocious beast. In a 1969 issue titled Flight of Doom, the animal terrorizes a race of mini people. Despite so many sightings, the Nandy bear has eluded hunters and scientists. The beast was last sighted in 1960 in Kipakubas when it invaded a hut and chased a man called Agnes MacDonald for 5 minutes. After that, the trail went cold, and there had been no recorded sightings for half a century. Did the species die out, or was the animal pushed further into the forests by human settlement? Today, the animal is classified as a cryptid, or unconfirmed animal that still evokes the interest of crypto hunters. Like so many others before him, William Hitchens set out to hunt for the beast that had made away with his loyal dog. He never found it, and he never found his dog. Today's second part of the upload is definitely a terrifying encounter. I live in rural southern Nevada. A buddy of mine and I encountered what we decided to be a skinwalker one night while we were sharing a bottle of whiskey. It was late. I was living towards the edge of town, fairly close to the open desert. I don't remember the time. I'd say 12 to 2 in the morning. Buddy comes over and decides to spend the night and drink and hang out. We're in my living room, sitting on the side of the house, next to a couple of closed and blinded windows. We'd been on the topic of the paranormal and cryptids when we began discussing Navajo and Southern Paiute skinwalker lore. We were about an hour into the topic and about a quarter of the way into the fifth when we began hearing this faint but distinguishable pitter-patter directly outside of the window, pacing back and forth the length of the house. We were buzzing enough to semi-discuss it until we began to hear hyena-esque cackling. At that point, we figured that we had attracted one by speaking about them, which is a staple of their lore. So we decided the best course would not to acknowledge it and carry on with our conversation until it left. The paw-like pacing and cackling continued for another 45 minutes or so and eventually stopped. Neither one of us was willing to open the blinds or go outside until morning. But when we woke up and went outside, not only did we see dog prints lining the dirt directly outside of the windows, we saw a set of abnormally large human-like footprints that ran from near the carport to the center of the yard before the track stopped dead. And each footprint was smaller and less imprinted. To this day, we are positive that we attracted or summoned a skinwalker. Even if that's not the correct cryptid, I know for a fact that there was something outside of our house that night. All right, folks, I hope you all enjoyed this night ending bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps this channel growing and going, and honestly, what gives people a place to share their experiences, encounters, and theories, judgment and ridicule free, simply treated with the respect that we all deserve. Thank you. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. These creatures are real. These events are real. They are dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the answers, and God bless.